So my name is Dr. Helen, and I'm presenting a new series here of interviews. These will be a little more in depth than we've done in the past. So if you have questions and you want to send them to us, then we'll get them to Mario, and we'll get you some answers, and we'll post them so everyone can see them. Guest is Mario Cerrito III.
Thanks for having me.
The last time I interviewed Mario, I think, was 2015, 2016.
Yeah.
Mario's also been on a couple of variety shows that we produced in the past.
Mm-hmm.
One was a special with Lee Ware.
Yep.
Which I thought was kind of cool.
That was cool.
And so Mario has been working primarily as a director for the last, 4 or 5 years?
No.
Longer?
Yeah, since 2013, so 9. Yeah.
So the films that I saw on IMDb
Right.
Started with Deadly Gamble.
Correct, yeah.
What year was
That
that?
was 2013.
2013?
Yeah, it was 2013. We shot that in 2013.
And there's some folks that I recognize in there that are involved in, some pretty heavy-duty work right now.
Yes. Yeah, Bernard and
Why don't you talk about how that film came together? And
yeah, so, well, really how it got started was 2012, I tried to get a script off the ground called The Cornfield Massacre. And I had no experience in the film business. I had no formal education in the film business, no training or anything. So I kind of started feeling my way around the Philadelphia film world. Started reaching out to certain people, and they connected me with a few producers that read the script. They liked it, and the goal was to shoot a trailer to try and raise money for a feature film, which is hard to do. So we shot the trailer in 2012, and that was it. Didn't go anywhere. And I kind of caught the bug of, wow, this is awesome. I like the experience of seeing how a script comes to life. But then again, you need money. So I think the budget we were looking to get was like $100,000, something crazy. So then in 2013, that led me to 2013 writing. No, actually, fall of 2012, I wrote Deadly Gamble. Now my brain started, working on how can I make a script that's affordable and still be entertaining. So now that's the hard part. You still gotta make the film entertaining, but now you gotta make it to where you can afford it. So I wrote Deadly Gamble while I was working at the car dealership on my downtime in the car dealership, and that was a script around, the budget was about $10,000. Still, I had no money in my pocket. So I'm thinking, now what? I gotta find investors or somebody to get behind this project and make it, where I can make it a reality. So I got 2 different people for $5,000 a piece. They read the script, they loved it, and then we had the budget to make Deadly Gamble, which we shot in 2013.
came out of high school.
Mm-hmm.
You could have played ball.
Yeah. So I played 4 years under Lee Ware, who's a legendary coach at Woodstown High School.
So winningest coach in
correct, in New Jersey.
Jersey,
right, yep. He had been there for, I think he started in 1974. When I was there, it was 1999 to 2002. So he had already been there for, 30-some years, 35 years or whatever. And I played 4 years under him, shortstop, started as a freshman all the way up to my senior year. And he taught me a lot. I mean, he was a man that never gave up, that, always looked at the positive sides of things. One saying that I always go by that he taught me was, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. So as bad as today is, some days feel like, terrible. I mean, some days can really, bury you mentally and physically. And then he would always say, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. And it's true. So next day could always be better, and you wake up in a better mood. But yeah, coming out of high school, I went to college to play baseball, but then it became a business almost, where it's you're not playing with your friends anymore from your town. You're playing from kids from all over. It's 2-a-day practices, and it became a business almost. It felt like it wasn't fun anymore. And when something isn't fun or I'm not enjoying it, it's when it's time to leave. And that's when I left baseball, and it left a void in my life.
I've heard people say that, people on scholarships,
Yes.
4-year even, they drop out because they're spending more time.
That's right.
the workouts and the drills,
Right.
rather than they are doing anything else in their life.
Yeah, and it took the fun out of it. And like I said, when I was going and I wasn't enjoying it, is when I knew that it was pretty much over. So that's when I left baseball, and I had a huge void for about 10 years. I lost that competitive nature that what kept me going in life was baseball, and then I lost that for about 10 years, and that's what led me into finding filmmaking, and that's why I kind of got into filmmaking.
Okay, good segue.
Yeah, that's why I gave that.
And I guess the thing that I don't think I ever really understood was how you came to filmmaking. I mean, there's a million things
Right.
that a young person can do.
Right.
So what was it about filmmaking that you wouldn't strike me as
No.
if I'd known you then,
Right.
as someone who was going to become a pretty good filmmaker.
Right. And anybody that knew me before I got into film would probably attest to what you just said, because I was always an athlete, baseball. You know what I mean? I wasn't in the arts in school. I didn't do drama. I didn't do filmmaking. None of that.
It's kind of ironic because Woodstown has the
they have great ones.
They have the magnet school for communications,
right,
which includes filmmaking.
Right. So
it's like you were in parallel universe.
Right. It's weird how it worked out. I mean, and what's funny is it feels like it was destiny, because as a child I always liked to create, and when I say create, I would make haunted attractions in my parents' backyards. When I say that, I might have been 9 years old. I would, around Halloween time, I would build stuff in the backyards to look like a haunted attraction. And I would get people from the neighborhood, friends, to come through and look at it. And I never understood why I did that until now that I made films, because I was creating with my mind and then showing off to other people what I was creating. So that was where it started, but it never really got into a career until I think I was 30.
We'll come back to that, because what you just described is something that actors and people who work with you say about you is your ability to visualize.
Right.
We'll come back to that, because during the Q&A for your premiere on most recent film, Human About You Too, the actors all mentioned that.
Yes.
All those that we interviewed said the same thing.
Well, yeah. I guess they see that I can take something and make it, out of the head into onto the set, which is not easy.
So you worked on Deadly Gamble, and that one's on IMDb, and I think it's doing pretty well.
It is, yeah. So you want me to talk a little bit about? Okay, so Deadly Gamble, again, we made it on a cheap budget of $10,000. That's still coming out of that film. I had no experience of what to do after the fact, but I knew you had to get a distribution deal to make it get out into the world. So I sent it to two or three distributors, and they shot it down. And that kind of really deflates your sale, because you spend all that time making a movie, and then when you send it to a distributor just for them to say, we're not interested, kind of really, it deflates you a little bit. So finally, Cinema Epic, they're out of Los Angeles, they signed it. They picked it up, and then they, distributed it to Comcast TV. It went to television, all over Vudu. It went to all the platforms, basically. And that's where it really started, because then, now I understood the whole process of, how to get a film out there to the world.
So I hear you also describing that you're getting smarter, you're learning the workflow.
Right.
You started to understand the industry and how it works as a business.
Correct.
You start out, you're more of a, the young artist,
right,
the filmmaker, the script writer,
right,
the enthusiastic phase, creativity.
Right.
It's like, what happens next?
Right. It's all new to you, and then, once you see how, it's a step-by-step process, then you know what you're doing for the next one. That led me to the next movie.
Because I hear your first experience, you were confronted with the issue of budget.
Yes, correct.
And then when you got to Deadly Gamble, then you were confronted with, okay, I made a film.
Right.
I think it's pretty good.
Right.
Like, how do I get it out into the world? So then
Right.
How did you talk to people that had
yeah, I think
distributed film?
Right, yeah, so I think I did, actually, yeah. I was reaching out to people, and I was saying, I have this completed film, what do I do? And they'd say, well, now you got to get it out into the world. said, it's no good on Grandma's shelf. They would say it's got to get out to the world. So, and I would ask how to do that, and they said you just literally have to. I think I looked up, Googled independent film distributors, and then all it'll give you is an email for acquisitions. You look the email up, and then you would send them. Some of them, most of them, I would say 85% of the night don't even email you back. So they're not going to. They must get flooded with emails. They only waste their time emailing you back.
Do I hear Lee Ware's voice?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, exactly. Never give up. Never give up. So, they wouldn't even email you back. If they didn't even take a look at the movie, they just don't email you back from the get-go. Then a couple will email you back. You send them the screener, the link to the movie. They watch it, and then they tell you they don't want it. So now you're like, all right, now what?
Did they tell you why?
They just say it's not a fit. The classic,
Are they being flippant? Are they just trying to get the rejection over with?
Yeah. They don't give you much. They'll just say it's not a fit for our... Thanks for submitting. It's not a fit for our...
Because I would appreciate feedback when you're saying they don't even bother with that.
No, they don't bother with that. They don't care. So
what percentage do you think they actually...
that they actually reject?
Just like yes.
You say, reject films? Or...
So 90, 95?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So well, we'll get to that later, but there's so many films being made that I'm sure they have somebody just on automated, no thank you. I mean, there's
first 8 minutes in
here. Yeah, and if the title of the movie's not catching them, you have no shot.
So they're already so you're probably learning what their perspective is.
Oh, absolutely.
And that is that they're looking at the other side.
Sure. Yeah.
This is like in business to viewers.
Correct. Why would they want a film? They got to ask themselves that. So I didn't understand it then. I had no clue then. I thought, I made a movie, why don't they want it? But now, 11 years later...
So you mentioned title. Do you think title's really important?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, big time, because I've made 3 different films. Well, 4, but there's one that took off for a reason, and that's partially to do with the title of the movie.
So let's go to the next film sort of in sequence here. The next one is The Listening.
Yes.
That film has done really well.
Yeah.
I think it's still 7.3 out of 10 stars.
It is, yeah.
On IMDb.
Which is really good for an independent movie.
What year did that film get distributed?
We shot that in 2015, which was 2 years after Deadly Gamble. Stepped the budget up a little bit to $25,000. So what happened was I had some momentum coming off Deadly Gamble because people saw that it got out a distribution deal. They saw it on TV. They saw it here. They saw it there. So I got a little momentum, and we stepped the budget up to $25,000, which is still pennies. Making a movie, it's nothing. But it was a little more than I had to work with, so that stepped up the production value of the film a little bit. Equipment, we could do a little more. And that film did well for me in terms of getting out there, creating movies, and it was probably the best film I've done in terms of production. Yeah, so
10 guys.
10, yeah. We had a lot of crew members. Right, a lot of crew members on both of those films.
Well, it shows.
Yeah. Which you do, and you do need them for a real production.
The production value on that movie is very high.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's what you utilize. You want to utilize what you can when you have no money. So.
Man, I looked at it, and my first impression was, wow, this has a look, feel, sound.
Yeah, the sound was great.
Of any movie.
Yeah, it was like a regular movie that you can see out there. Sure, it's just on the independent scale, it did well. So.
So you're on a progression now. You're
on a progression.
You're being modest too, because the first time I interviewed you, it was the second time when we were doing the show with Lee Ware, and I realized that your film had been selected.
Yeah, with the Cannes.
For the Cannes Film Festival.
Correct. Yeah.
And there's very few films that.
Yeah, you go. Yeah, sure.
Now you didn't go.
No.
Why didn't you go?
Well, number one, I don't like to fly, so that's probably number one. I'm not flying for no reason unless I have.
All this time I've known you, I didn't know you were.
I don't like to fly unless I really have to. Honeymoon was one of the ways I had to fly. My wife made me fly, but should I have went? Yeah, maybe, but do I regret it? No, because I don't know. There's other events that I could go to around here. I mean, it was just the prestige of going. Their film being carried over there was cool. I don't have to go. But it wasn't really. Usually, I go off something that's calling my name, and it didn't call my name, so that's why I didn't go. But it was still a great honor to have your distributor take it over there. So
Your second film.
second film, yeah.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, absolutely.
I said, well, gosh, I got to get to know this guy. This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
So then so now you've got a film that's fairly successful. I mean,
Right.
It's gotten recognition. Some of the people that acted in your film, they're starting to get
Yes.
recognized as well. I mean, it's that thing where we all kind of grow
grows
together.
family, right. Yeah, so Bernard Glinkowski I used in Deadly Gamble. He's the owner of the Philadelphia Acting Studio. Great guy, great talent, great overall person. Like I said, we used him in Deadly Gamble, and then I called him back for the listing just because we had a great chemistry on set. We did good, and he was growing as a actor at the time himself. His studio was doing well, and he was a pleasure to work with. We flew Jessica Cameron from Los Angeles, who's a icon in independent horror. She came on for the listing, which really helped create a buzz because people follow her. And it did good. And then you're back at square one after you do the listing. Then what do you do? Because just because it creates a buzz doesn't mean it makes any money. And now you got to make another movie. You kind of.
Yeah, and I think in the back of your mind, you knew that the next film wasn't going to be couldn't be 25,000.
No.
If it was going that same trajectory.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Large crew.
You just couldn't do it anymore.
And that you're still, I think, the definition of a small independent film is $1 million or less.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like what you're describing at 10 and 20, that's considered to be zero.
That's no budget.
Zero budget.
That's enough to feed the crew basically, and pay for locations or pay your actors to keep coming back. I think Hollywood has low budget as $2 million and under, which is insane.
So the fact that you were in competition, that you were recognized, that your IMDb films get more reviews than other independent films.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It shows, it's a testament to what you're doing, I guess. You're not just, out here floundering, and that's kind of what kept me going. I didn't really know what to do because, again, you're not really making money back in independent film. You're not you're just not enough to make, especially when you started from no money. It's not like I had $2 million in the bank, and then if I made two films on 10,000, 25, I still have. Now let's step the budget up to 200. That's not the case. The case was I started from no money. I made a film on 10,000, then 25,000, and you still have no money. So now
you didn't have a financial stepping stone.
Yeah, right. So now
we have reserve.
Yeah, there's no reserve
from revenue from the previous film.
There's nothing.
Move to the next film.
So there's nothing. So now
there's no stepping stone.
That's it. So now you're either gonna leave the business after 3 years, 4 years, or you're gonna figure out a way to keep going.
And at this point, you're kind of all in. I mean, this is
all in.
This is what you've been doing with your life. It's not like you've been working some other.
No, I was all in. And then the listing basically came out of post in 2016, end of 2016, and now I have a kid on the way. So now I have a wife and a kid on the way, and your films still haven't made any money. So now what do you do? So now you're stuck. Do you want to continue down the film career, or do you want to go get a corporate job and say bye-bye to film? That's kind of where it leads to.
Sell or die.
That's right. Exactly. And that's kind of where I was at. I was like, what can I do? I mean, but I love creating. I love the process of making a movie. I had to create. It's something that's in my mind that I have to get out.
Yeah, we talked about that. The fact that you have this creative side, and you can't stop it.
No.
It's your identity.
That's right.
So you're kind of stuck. I mean, on the one hand, I know you're responsible.
Yeah.
Good family man.
That's right.
but you're creative too. Now, how do I reconcile?
Yeah, it's kind of like you got to find a balance. You know what I mean? And again, you know, you got a family, you got a kid, you got a wife, you got a house, you got bills, but then your film career is not bringing any money in. So you have to somehow keep your family going, your house paid for, your bills, but then you still got, if you still need to create, you need money to create. So it's like, that's why I think a lot of people get out of the business. Because there's no, unless you hit the jackpot on it, like a film, like,
Right.
you know, so that's kind of where I was around 2016, 17.
So I get the feeling this is something that's fairly unique to independent films.
Yeah, and I would even maybe even Hollywood films, you know, they could make a $15 million film, and if some of them flop, who's going to invest in you after that? Nobody's. You know what I mean? Yeah.
The flops get a lot of attention too.
They do, yeah. I mean, you know, it's kind of, exactly, it's more independent film. You either got to be rich and dumb to keep going, or you got to be super dedicated and have a big heart to keep going. I mean, there's that's it. So I'm the latter. Super dedicated. It's the only way you can keep going.
So what gets us to the next phase?
So now after the listing, again, the film didn't make any money back. It got recognition. It got all the things that, you know, that come with making a film. Recognition, the praise, oh, wow, he's doing a great job, like the reviews, the critic, they love it.
On the back.
Yep, get all that. You know, websites writing about it, this and that. But still, you have no money coming in. So now I came up with the great idea of how can I make a film by myself without bringing in
10 guys?
10 guys, a big crew, and be able to make something that was entertaining, and not only that, but something that would hit hard, something that, you know, that I could really market, something that, and that's when Human Hibachi was born, and that was 2017. I wrote that, and then we filmed that in 2018. So.
And we did a show with you.
Yes.
You did the trailer.
Yes.
And the host of the show couldn't look at the trailer.
Yeah, yes, right. So
it definitely made an impression.
Yeah, so Human Hibachi is basically a completely off-the-wall concept that grabs people's attention just from the title, Human Hibachi, right away. That's what you need to do.
What is that? What are you talking about?
Right. What is it? And then, you know, it's completely unconventional. Anybody that goes to film school will tell you that it is...
Breaks the rules?
Oh, yeah, it's frowned upon. It's found footage style, which is, I filmed them on iPhones because I could control the camera. I didn't have to pay people. And this is now because...
I see where Spielberg
yeah.
did a film on iPhone.
Yeah, so now it's kind of getting to be the norm, but...
Just concept,
right.
Point of view.
Right. So it's, yeah, that's what it is. But the reason it really took off and did well was because of the cult following it got internationally, not just in Philadelphia or New York, or, you know, it really did well.
So this is another dimension.
It's completely different.
The other films perhaps weren't as recognizable outside the U.S.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking.
Well, they blended in with every other film that was being made. There were needle and haystack cookie cutter films. So, you know, when you hear The Listing or Deadly Gamble, they might sound cool, but what separates that from what every other filmmaker's doing at that level? Why? What's the difference? Now, when you see a Human Hibachi and you see what it is, that separates. That's different. That's makes people wonder. It catches attention, and that's what I had to do to keep going. And that's why I stuck with that film.
So how did the film concept
come about?
Yeah, how did it start?
So I was, I think we were at a hibachi restaurant after hours. It was in Collingswood, and we were eating. It was me and my wife and a couple friends, and we were, you know, we just had this idea, like, what if they shut the place down and they kind of just cooked us up and fed us to the people that came in tomorrow, kind of thing. And we were just messing around, and that's when the idea was born. That I was like, man, that could be an idea. And then I put it away for 6 or 7 months, and then I didn't know what to do with continuing my film career, and that's when I took it out and I started writing it.
How long did it take you to write it?
2 months, a month and a half, 2 months.
So it was fast.
Yeah. So once I write, I can't put it down. If I put it down, I don't finish it. Like if I could write a script halfway through, and if I put it down, I won't finish it. It could be the best script in the world, but I have to finish it in one shot.
So
yeah,
once you start, like if it's a daily routine, I mean, you probably wake up and you
have to
start writing
immediately. Yeah. If not, I mean, that's me. If I put it down,
you're afraid the inspiration is gonna break.
Yeah, the inspiration breaks, and then you just if you put something down for a week, then it becomes 2 weeks, then it becomes a month, and then you're done. Yeah,
it's dead.
It's dead. Yeah. So I finished.
There's a flow you have to go.
You have to. Yeah. So. But yeah, that led to the Human Hibachi script, and that was the next venture.
So the first time I saw that film all the way through, I realized that there was nothing out there similar.
Mm-hmm. It was really not, and that's kind of what...
almost like creating a new paradigm.
Correct. And that's kind of what the fans or the critics, and they'll tell you that it's a completely different take on the found footage genre. You know what I mean? How it's realism. It's it's the story. I mean, what it's trying to portray is different.
My impression was that all the things that you learned from the high value production approach, the 10 guys, you didn't forget any of that. No. It's just that now you could be the scriptwriter, you could be the director of photography.
Right. Yeah, I mean...
you're the director, and there's no 10 guys.
There's not.
So the budget shifts.
Yes. So
it's not on the crew.
Correct. So you can dump everything into effects and stuff like that. And Human Hibachi is very effect heavy, which is expensive. But you can dump everything into that instead of spending on crew members, which is essential to a film. But like you said, now I'm taking over all those roles. So now it's going to be me doing those, and then I can put the money into what's really going to make the film pop. And that's what I did.
I'm guessing that in the back of your mind, all those things were considerations as you were writing the script.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, when you're writing it, and that's the thing about having a no-budget film is when you're writing, you got to compromise.
You're checking all the boxes.
Yep, you're checking all the boxes.
You got a special title.
Sure.
It's a niche.
Yes.
This is something that you probably knew from one of the investors that it had potential internationally.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, when I was writing that script, I knew that if I could shoot this film, or at least make the movie, that the sky was going to be the limit. I knew it. Like, when you know what I mean? I knew that this film had it. It was just a matter of, can I pull it off? Can I be the one guy that, you know what I mean? You don't have the crew members. Can I do this? I guess. I never worked the camera before. I never, in terms of like actually, and it was still, it's an iPhone, but you still got to know what you're doing.
Well, I think that's the main point. I think that's part of Spielberg using an iPhone.
Right.
It's the real skill or talent that's required is the storytelling.
Oh, absolutely.
And here you are, you have the camera, and you've written the script. And from what the actors say, and from what I've observed, is that you know in your mind exactly what you think the camera should show.
And that's it's smart, because a lot of times, if you are directing a film, a conventional style film where there's a director of photography, sometimes they have something different in their head, that they see a shot a certain way, but then a way that you want the shot, and then that creates tension on set. And if you're controlling the camera, I like it more because you can get exactly what you want. I know exactly what I see, and I know exactly how to get it. And that's why I enjoy these Human Hibachi movies, because I have full control over the creative process, from screenplay to the final cut.
It must felt like everything could go immediately from what was in the script or what was in your mind, and some of the conversations with the actors, because they said you were good at improvising.
Yeah.
To the actual filming itself.
Right.
I mean, it was all immediate. There are all those filters.
Right.
There are all the layers that you have to go through.
Right.
In order to get it into the can.
That's right. Yeah. And I'm big on like improvising, and I think you get your best performances out of actors when you let them be natural instead of being too controlling.
Scorsese.
Yes.
Here's some classic stories.
Yeah, like that Pesci scene with the funny how scene. That was Joe Pesci basically improvising. But that I think you get your best performances out of actors when you let them kind of give them a little free rein. You got to reel them in sometimes, but let them go, and I'm big on that. So it usually works out well.
And they love you for it.
Yeah, that's good.
Because it means that you believe in their understanding of the script.
Right. Yeah, and you give them their artistic freedom. They're artists too, so you kind of
they become the character.
Exactly. And they have a little spin on it. And what I'll do is I'll give them a shot and say, let me see what you got. And most of the time I end up loving it. Sometimes I don't, and I'll let them know. But
that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So on the one hand, from a production standpoint, you take control, but in terms of interpreting the script and the actual scene itself, you give some freedom.
Yeah, so there's certain things that I won't let up. Like, if I'm shooting a scene and, there's certain things, like effects-wise and all that, that's going to be 100% how I want it. But if it's actor interpretation of a scene, I'll talk to them first about it. And usually the idea that they have is great, and I agree, and we just go and do it, and it just makes for a better set. I don't like tension. When there's tension on set, you don't get what kind of in a work environment. There's tension. You're not getting a good product. You're going to get a lot of resentment, and you're going to get a worse product. So if you have an easygoing set, in my opinion, you're getting a better product. Period.
Focus.
Team.
Talk about team.
There's not one leader, or there's a one leader, but that's why they have captains of a baseball team.
It's only one head coach.
There's one head coach. There's one captain, but
one director.
Yeah, but together you have to have everybody firing on all cylinders to make it a great product. Just like if somebody drops the ball on the baseball field, it affects everybody.
I was going to ask if you thought having played baseball for Lee Ware had an influence on your putting a high value on team play.
100%. Yeah. He was one that he was one that would always tell us that it's not one man that makes a game. Or it's not one man that makes a team. It's a team. You win as and lose as a team, and that carried on to my filmmaking process because I hate to say it, but there's a lot of filmmakers out there that think it's all about them.
You were on a state championship team?
South Jersey championship, yeah. Yeah, we won South Jersey in 2000, so I saw what it took to win. So it takes a team, but not one man, and that goes a long way in your filmmaking career because a lot of guys will go in as a one-man band and it just doesn't work out. You have to appreciate all people involved in the process. So.
Well, by virtue of letting them improvise, it shows you trust them.
Absolutely.
And they probably love that, and they perform better.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're going to get a better performance, a better relationship you have with your actors. They're gonna perform better, and they're gonna want to perform.
So, Human Hibachi 1, I'm calling it 1 now because there's another film. Human Hibachi, I was there for the New Jersey HorrorCon
and Film
Festival 2021.
Correct.
And Human Hibachi won the best film.
Yes.
And you had some competition.
Yes, a lot.
COVID hadn't completely narrowed the submissions down.
Right. So I had submitted it in 2020 for the spring of 2020, I think it was. And then COVID hit. And then they got pushed back to fall of 2020, and then COVID was still fierce, so they just pushed it back to 2021, and then fall 20. So there was all that time for all these submissions to come in.
More films completed.
Oh my God, yeah, they were just it was loaded up.
So it was a couple of cycles.
Right, exactly. So fall 2021, there was a ton of films, and Human Hibachi was nominated for Best Film and Best Effects. And at that time, I was ecstatic just to be in a nomination because, again, you're going against films from all over the world. I mean, they're not just New Jersey films. I mean, there was films from Los Angeles, there's films from France, and they're good, and they got big budgets behind them. The one from LA,
recognizable actors.
Sure. Yeah, the one from the Los Angeles, one of the films in there that I was against had $1 million budget.
Did you make friends with those people?
Nah, they probably don't even come in. They just submit them, and they're from LA, and they just submit them out and don't actually come.
I just meant that here you are with your, $15,000, $20,000 budget film?
Right. Exactly, yeah.
Winning the award?
That was probably the happiest and peak moment of my career so far was being nominated, and then not only being nominated, winning the best film, which is the big award for that event. It's a great event that they have for horror fans, and just doing that in front of my family, it was a great experience, and it was awesome.
Well, you had some people in high places that were rooting for you.
Absolutely, yeah. And part of the reason it was so special is because going back, when I first got into the business, there was people that had already been in the business that were telling me I could never make it, or I could never make anything of myself because I didn't go to film school, or I didn't have any experience. And they would tell me, I had people telling me back in like 2012 that I would never be able to make a movie. True story. I mean, there's people trying to discourage me, saying you'll never be able to make a movie. You don't know what you're doing.
So have you thanked those people yet?
Nah. I just push them out of my life. But
that's what I call fuel.
Yeah, it was fuel. And then to win, best feature film at an event like that, it was
with a lot of competition.
Oh, absolutely.
Big
Yeah.
budget.
Yeah, everybody wants to win. And there's only one winner, so that was probably raising that trophy up in front of my family was awesome.
And I think for Trauma.
Right, and that's
Trauma is considered to be what?
So it's the oldest running independent film distributor in the entire world, and
they seem to be rooting for you.
Yeah, they signed Human Hibachi, so that was another honor to be signed to their label. I mean, for them to pick it up and put it out under their label was another amazing moment in my career.
So you came off of this success, a big one, and more of it essentially now people recognizing attributed to you. You don't have this big production company approach.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's more so now after coming off that success, now I knew, this works, this style works, and now I can do it again. And that's what led to Human Hibachi 2.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So there's something that happens in between Human Hibachi 1. There wasn't a human, you knew you could do it.
Right.
But there's something else that came along between winning and starting.
The second film, you're saying?
The second film. In the Human Hibachi trilogy, I'm going to go ahead.
We can only hope we get there.
We're rooting for that.
That'd be great, yeah. Are you talking about the other film that I was hired to direct?
The script, was it House in the Pines?
Oh, The House in the Pines, yeah. Which goes back to that New Jersey Horror Con experience. I met Mick Strawn, who was on big Hollywood sets, Nightmare on Elm Street, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. He was a production designer. He had worked with some big people, and he was one of the celebrities at New Jersey Horror Con. And I went up to him and I started talking to him, and I said, "Hey, listen, I got a screenplay I'm going to throw your way just to let him read it." I sent him House in the Pines. He loved it, and he said, "Hey, listen, I like this so much. I would love to direct it and get some other people involved." So he got his good friend Nick Benson, who did all these special effects for big Hollywood films, to do the special effects, and that kind of snowballed into, we built like a nice team, and it's a great script. And it got picked up by Showtown American Pictures out of Florida, and right now it's currently trying to get a budget of 150 to 200,000, but we have a good team behind it, and it's a progress.
So it still has wings.
Still has wings, yeah. Yeah, it has wings. It's just a matter of, again, getting that budget. That's always that's the hardest thing. I wish I was a painter, because you could just get a canvas and start painting, but you can't do that in film.
This reminds me of the film before Deadly Gamble, where it said it was going to cost $100,000.
Right.
So the irony is that in some respects, the more promising the script,
right,
the more money that's required in
that's
order
right.
to even get it started.
That's half the battle. I mean, that's the whole battle, is getting the budget. You know what I mean? Making the film is the easiest part, but getting the money, because you don't have those studios behind you that can just shell out the money. You gotta get it from investors or somebody that wants to take a shot, and that's not easy. So you could have the best script in the world, but if you don't have money, it's just a script.
So what's also interesting about House in the Pines and that opportunity is that's where you were recognized in large part on your ability to write a script.
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that Mick Strom said he wanted you to direct it. In a sense, you've proven yourself as a director.
Right.
But maybe with Human Hibachi, well, with all your films, really, you've demonstrated that you can write a script.
Right.
So it must have been in your mind that, well, I could do that maybe. If the budget would come through.
Right. Yeah, that's the hardest part, is actually getting the budget. So, I mean, I could direct anything. You know what I mean? If I have the script and I love the script, I can direct anything. If I see it on paper, I can see it in my mind, and I can make it happen in real life. But it's a matter of getting the budget, and that's why a lot of guys will get into film. They last a couple years, because if you don't have money, you can't keep going. That's the reality behind it. If you're here's the thing, and it's the only art form where you absolutely have to have money. In music, you can still make music. You can get a guitar. You might need to spend a couple bucks, but you can make music. You can make your art. If you're a painter, you get a canvas and you get a piece of you get some paint. And you can paint. Film, it's not only it's thousands, it's millions of dollars to make. So you got to compete. Think about it. And I always say this, and it goes back to baseball. If you were to go into the batter's box with a toothpick against somebody with the best bat you could have, the guy with the toothpick is like an independent filmmaker against the big boys in Hollywood with the bat. It's just how it is. I mean, you're handicapped by money, so you're competing with all these films. People don't care about budget when they put a movie on. They don't care. They want to see a good movie. They want to see something that entertains them. They don't ask how much it was cost to make the film. They don't care.
I've seen that in reviews where there's absolutely no care
they don't
about
care.
the blood, sweat, and tears that went into making a film.
They don't care.
If they weren't amused or entertained.
If it bored them, they don't care. You took their time up. Yeah. You wasted an hour and a half of their life because you didn't have enough money to make a movie.
They might even have seen it for free, and they're just brutal.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you wasted an hour and a half of their life because you didn't have enough money to entertain them. That's how they look at it.
That, in a sense, really describes how competitive.
Oh, absolutely.
And
so
the level of quality now that's expected, even in independent films.
Sure.
I mean, I have to say that this is my personal opinion, but your films, like special effects and script and so forth, is better than what was done with Toxic Avenger.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
And I realize that technology's changed and techniques and so forth. But you couldn't do that film today.
No.
And be successful because the competition and the quality.
Yeah,
the production and the quality, even with independence, has gone up.
Oh, it has. Yeah, I mean, Technology's gotten cheaper, so everybody can afford.
Everybody can buy a camera now. You can use an iPhone.
Yeah, so now you have to figure out a way to separate yourself from the cookie cutter films, I call them. Anybody can make a movie, I say.
Gotta have a niche.
Yeah, you gotta have a hook. You gotta have something and that's what these human hibachi movies have done for me, because it's something that attracts a certain, cult following, and that's all you need. You need,
So talk about Human Hibachi 2.
So
it's been premiered, screened.
Mm-hmm.
I was there, and I enjoyed the fact that there were so many people who were interested in making films themselves, and people, film critics, people who had a sincere interest in the art, who were in attendance and asked really good questions.
Yeah, I was getting some good questions there. Human Hibachi 2 I made in 2021, off the heels of the first one. It's my favorite film that I've personally done in terms of, I would say, a complete film from front to back. Entertaining from front to back, special. It's just a good movie.
Does it carry over from one?
Yeah, it does, and it kind of carries the storyline over. It premiered on July 18th in Philly at the Playhouse West studio, which is a pretty world-renowned acting studio there. And we recently submitted it back to New Jersey HorrorCon, and it got accepted. And it will be screening Saturday, September 17th, down in Atlantic City.
Which casino?
Showboat. Hotel, yeah, right.
September 17th. Showboat.
Same time slot as
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock on a Saturday, so hopefully...
good time.
Yeah, it's like prime time, so hopefully it will, hopefully it gets a nomination, and then we'll see what happens.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. I would love to...
keep building the trilogy.
That's right, yeah. I thoroughly enjoy making these films, so... You know what I mean? Whereas, like, the other movies, Dead Again on the Listing, it was very stressful. Very stressful. These ones were very fun to make. And again, it goes back to when I was playing baseball. I quit because I wasn't having fun. When I'm having fun doing stuff, I want to keep going, and these ones, I have fun. So.
Well, I have to say that the esprit de corps cast and crew for Human Hibachi 2, because I did some work for you.
Yeah.
Was really good.
It was.
I'd been through a bad experience, previously, and I thought this was, exceptional.
Yeah, you're talking about the cast and all that. The cast was pretty good on this one. I kind of took my time on, who matched what character, and we did a good job, I think, on that. So, yeah, it really came together great. Because you never know, like, when you're making these films, it could be your last film, so you kind of want to make it the best you can. You don't know, like. You know what I'm saying? Again, you just don't know how long you can keep going. So, that's kind of why I put my all into it, and I think it paid off. So
what's next?
Well, we're gonna take the New Jersey HorrorCon thing. We're gonna go there. We're gonna see how it does there. Then we're gonna submit it for distribution. Create buzz again, and then if God's willing, we'll make a third one. So I just take it one day at a time, and I thank God, and I just keep going, man.
So we've gone across your journey in filmmaking,
right?
So what are your thoughts, your general impression of the filmmaking industry?
From the independent filmmaking industry, it's tough. It's tough. If you don't have thick skin, you're not going to make it more than a year or two. You're just not. Everybody's out to, and I don't mean to be negative, but I don't know how. Everybody's in it for themselves. You know what I mean? They might, on the exterior, they might seem like they're trying to help you, but behind closed doors, they want to kill you, kind of thing. And it's just the truth. I mean,
self-interest.
Right. You gotta be smart. You gotta be 2 steps ahead. So and a lot of people, before they even get into any kind of entertainment business, they hear that it's cutthroat, and it's true. It is cutthroat. You just got to be the one cutting throats, I guess, instead of getting your throat cut. I mean, that's
sell or die.
Right. And and I don't mean to sound in in a crazy way, but you got to be the one that is ready to cut a throat before they cut yours, because if not, once you get your throat cut, you can't go on. Yeah,
you're done.
You're done. Yeah, they'll kill you. So you got to keep going. You got to maintain a good name for yourself constantly, up and up. You got to constantly be up and up. If your name starts getting tarnished a little bit, you're done. Nobody want to work with you. Actors don't want to work with you. Producers don't want to help you. Distributors might not want to pick your film up. You got to keep your names, solid. So, and you do that by doing good business with people. You got to have good business practice. The way you treat people on set, that's huge. You got to treat people, and I always say you treat the lowest man as good as the highest man, because without that lowest man, you're nobody. So, and I've always said that.
I observed that.
You have to.
Yeah, I admire that.
Yeah, so you gotta keep a good name for yourself if you want to make it in the independent film business.
So what advice would you give to a young, ambitious, beginning filmmaker?
At first, I would treat it as if it was my own sons, and I would say, don't do it. Don't get into business. I mean, listen, here's the thing, and I say this with all, and this is just being 100% realistic. Unless you can give it your 100% all, and you can withstand hits constantly and withstand, constant letdowns, don't even bother, because that's what it is. And I say that because there's very highs, but there's very lows. So you got to be able to, keep going. And it's just, I would recommend to have a thick shell, thick exterior, and you got to want it. Just like anything else, if you don't want it, you ain't gonna go. You ain't gonna make it. So. And I would recommend, another recommendation, if you're going to get into making independent films, be different. Be different. Don't blend in.
You got to have a niche.
You got to have a niche. You got to have something that's going to separate you from every other person that's making a film. And that's the God honest truth. Don't even bother unless you can separate yourself. There's no point. There's no point. Unless you love abuse. There's no point. So.
Masochists.
Yeah, right, yeah. And I'm just being honest. I'm being brutally honest. Because, again, I started from the bottom with no money in my pocket, and I had to go through it all to even get to any kind of recognition. So, Human Hibachi was recently released by Invincible Pictures to Amazon Prime. And for a day, one day only. Now, listen, this is like getting called up to the Major League Baseball for one game. This is how this felt. For one game, getting that cup of coffee in the pros. But it was in the top 100 best-selling horror films on Amazon Prime. And Amazon Prime actually features that, where you can click like the top 100 best-selling horror films. And Human Hibachi went all the way from, it started in the 13,000s and went all the way to number 76 for one day. So it was up there with, which is crazy, because if you look at pretty much, every other film in that top 100 are huge Hollywood studio films. I'm talking about 15, 20 million, $30 million budget films. And Human Hibachi poked its head up for one day in the top 100, which was, I mean, it's incredible to even get near that. Because if you look at like the listing on the same thing, it's in the 15,000s. It's like 15,000 something. And, we made it to the top 100. And, one of the horror websites did an article on it because of, how cool that was. So
That's good.
Yeah, it's like it would be like getting called up to the majors for that one game. So that's what it kind of felt like. Like you're with the big boys, Like you got other people probably saying, "Who's this Human Hibachi in here?" Poking its head up.
So we've come a long way from the anxiety of having produced a film with accolades that
right
doesn't make any money,
right,
to something that's now on a
top 100.
Amazon is.
Yeah, it's a King Kong.
Basically, the marketplace.
Right, it is. Yeah.
Is making it's demonstrating.
Yeah,
that's
pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So that was, and again, that's a testament to the niche film. There's a reason why that the listing wasn't there and Human Hibachi was. There's a reason, and
it must be satisfying to know that your criteria, the things that you thought would be necessary,
for
Human Hibachi to be successful, actually came.
It came to fruition. Right. Yeah, because sometimes you might think something that, doesn't really come to fruition, but to see that it's working, you're seeing that it's getting that. Right. You're right. So that's why I'm sticking with this little. I might go to Human Hibachi 12. I don't know, but I'm sticking with it.
Last thing I wanted to talk to you about is what you want your legacy to be in filmmaking, life in general.
In life, yeah. So it's a very good question because I do hold that near and dear to my heart. I feel like, I don't know, like ever since I've been a little kid that when I pass on, I want to leave something behind. I'm going to leave, I don't just want to be born just to work, pay bills, get sick and die. That to me is, I mean, listen, a lot of people do it and there's nothing wrong with it. But to me, if God gives me some kind of calling or talent, I want to utilize that, and I want to give something to the world that people enjoy, that people talk about, that when I'm gone, my kids' kids can say, hey, look, Grandpa made this. Why don't we look at it or check it out? And something that's always there, far from when I'm gone or long, I'm out of here. That to me is purpose. And I lived a life of, working construction or working in a warehouse, and to me that it's very depressing to my mind because I feel like I'm just a number, and that's not. I don't feel like any of us are here just to be a number. I feel like we all have something that we have to give back, and me, it's film, and and I hope that my mom, my dad, my wife, my kids, they all are proud of what I've been doing. So, that to me gives me purpose. That it's not, it's far beyond. It's never been about me. Never been about me. It's more about making people that love me proud. People that when I'm gone again, my grandkids proud. I might not know that they're proud, but they know that they're proud. And that to me is legacy. Leaving that behind. And that's why I do what I do. And it has nothing to do with me. A lot of people do it for self-interest. It's always been about why I'm here and what I can leave behind. So that's why I do it.
I know what else I wanted to ask you.
What's that?
This is the difficult question, and that is some people don't look at horror films, particularly bloody films, as being respectable, or they're.
Sure.
I mean, we've read the reviews. We know that there's this. To some extent, we can understand it,
right?
But my impression of your films, what differentiates it, is it has a sense of humor.
Right.
Like in Human Hibachi 2, Human Hibachi 1, it was more about the absurdity and it's kind of shocking because there's things that people don't talk about. They may, have some ideas, and then to have it presented visually,
right.
That was something that was totally new, and it was done with a sense of humor.
Right.
But with Human Hibachi 2, there's a more cohesive script. It's more about the characters than the fact that there's cannibalism.
Correct.
So, in fact, there's a kitchen scene.
Yeah.
Where it seems to reflect that the cannibals have really good family values.
Yeah, right.
So I thought that one was a particularly,
Yeah, it gives you a little dark humor. Yeah.
The dialogue in that is exceptionally good.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of my favorite scenes. Yeah. Horror gets, the genre in general gets frowned upon, I would say, just because people feel like, when you're chopping people up and eating them, or, if you're just having somebody kill people, I mean, it goes against what we as a society, look as what's right and wrong. You know what I mean? And then you're trying to make entertainment out of it. So I understand why people look down on it. It's not a good subject. It's a pressing subject if you really delve into it. But there's a lot of people that enjoy it. There's a lot of people that like that getting out of their reality of life and wanting to sit down for an hour and a half and watch something that is fake, but it at the same time gives them a rush.
Some people theorize that all art is escapism.
It is. I can agree with that because, again, there's people that work all day, every day, and they want to get away from the grind of life and put something on that kind of puts them in a different world. You know? So,
from an industry perspective, before COVID, if I remember the numbers correctly, horror films were actually the most popular in theaters. And now, even after COVID, it's still the seventh most revenue generating genre.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, especially around Halloween time. I mean, why do we why do we have Halloween? Why do we dress up in costumes, and why do we have for a month have all kinds of scary stuff decorating there? Because people love it. People do love, you know, horror. I mean, listen, not everybody's gonna love everything. You know, some people like comedy, some don't. Some people love stories, some don't. There's that market for horror, and you know, that's why I do it, because you know I'm pretty good at it. So I know how to get to people.
But if it were just gratuitous violence and slashing, it wouldn't be successful.
No, you gotta have dark comedy.
It wouldn't get to the top 100 on that.
No.
You know, there's something different about your film. Your film is a well-written script.
Right.
It's the sense of humor. It's your characters are really well developed.
Right.
In Human Hibachi too. A lot more time on characters than the situations.
Right. Yeah. So with the first film, with the second film, I was able to get right to the point. Whereas the first one kind of lays the groundwork. We have to see what's going on with a POV camera, why, and then that's why some of the critiques against the first film was it's a slow burn, it's a slow build up to get to the good stuff, because I had to lay the groundwork.
Too is
you have to get right to it.
It's fast, very fast.
Yeah, the pacing was great, and the reason why is because I laid the groundwork on the first one, and now we know because what happened in the first. Now we go right to it. So that's kind of how it developed.
I don't want to create any spoilers, but did you really use a chainsaw?
Yeah. I was the one that carried it. So I didn't want any accidents, so I knew if I carried it, there wasn't going to be any accidents. I've had accidents on set, so I don't want any more of them.
That would be bad.
Yeah. Especially when your wife is the one holding the camera. She was the one filming. It was a little... You do some crazy stuff, man, just to get a shot, so...
I'm not going to say what happens.
Yeah, you get crazy. You do some crazy
things. That scene is
it's intense.
That one was scary.
The one with Christina, yeah, that was a good scene. It's probably the favorite scene I've done. Yeah,
that was definitely a threshold.
Yeah, it was. We pushed some boundaries. And
the way you use the cameras, clever.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So.
Well, I certainly enjoyed spending some time with you.
I appreciate it.
But what I wanted to do here was try and go into a little more depth than what we normally do.
Yeah.
This interview will necessarily be longer. It'll be for people that want to understand you and your films, and hopefully they'll come to Showboat on September 17th.
Yeah, September 17th, 3 p.m. at the Showboat Hotel at the New Jersey HorrorCon and Film Festival. We'll be screening, and we're hoping for the best.
I'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, it'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you.